and gentlemen, I welcome each one of you to the CEO Talk Delhi, an initiative by The Talk. My name is Anmol Garg, and I'm the founder of Sales 5X, a sales training and consulting organization, and I will be your moderator for today's discussion. CEO Talk is a platform that helps sharing ideas and insights to transform organizations and to create a better and transparent forum for meaningful business relationships and partnerships. This event is brought to you by Tata Tele Business Services. It's the country's leading enabler of connectivity and for businesses, with services ranging from connectivity, collaboration, cloud, security, IoT, and marketing solutions. Tata Tele Business Services offers the largest portfolio of ICT services for businesses in India. I now invite Mr. Aditya Kindra, the Vice President, SME Regional Operations, Tata Teleservices, to deliver the welcome address.
Hi, good morning. A very warm welcome to all the panelists on this CXO series summit. This is the third of the series, CXO series, which we are having across last 1 month. And I must say that we've been planning about doing this CXO series when this year started, through the live events, through meeting up with all of you across cities, across hotels. But never did we know that the execution plans of all of our planning and evaluation will be very different and is in somebody else's hands. I must say that this outbreak has forced all of us, all the organizations, to evaluate how all our contact points are leveraged, to evaluate the customer experiences, to evaluate the employee experiences. But beyond this, apart from the customers and the employees, the two things which have certainly come into the fray is about, the citizen part of it, and something we always have been ignoring, the human part of our employees. I think that's the fundamental change which all the organizations are going through. Organizations, apart looking at customers, employees, and then from the citizens and human point of view, have now to decide what are the changes they need to make from a short-term angle or from a long-term angle. Fundamentally, from even from our telecom perspective, we've been going through a lot of changes in our product cycles because these challenges have forced us to innovate. And obviously, any problem statements, whenever there are problems, companies or organizations have to come up with new solutions. But now it's time for us to look at whether we need to decide at a short-term solution and wait for this pandemic to get over, or we have to come up with a long-term, structurally set up solution. And all of us have to agree on this fact that this is where we need to stand. This is how the organization will look at, and this is where what the digital world is all about. Different segments. We've been interacting with BPOs. We've been interacting very closely with IT companies. Different segments and different verticals have their own strategies. I must talk about the BPO segments, and the large BPOs have been looking at. Some of the large BPOs have been looking at coming back to the old models, and some of the large BPOs, and specifically, banks who are into who have got a part of the BPO segment with them, have thoroughly talking about changing the whole business model to a work from home angle. Our own organization has taken up a call that this is how life is, and we are now going to be virtual at all, totally virtual, and we've left all our offices throughout the country and moved into a co-work segment, right? And informed our employees that now next 2-3 years, it's all about being from work from home. So it's now getting digital. So I must open this, this debate and this panel discussion today with the hope that we'll have much more clarity of where the businesses are moving towards, what this pandemic is, what kind of changes this pandemic is leading towards in individual segments. Let me also tell you that the answer is not common across. That's my learning, at least for the last 6 months. The answer is different across different segments. And where we are going towards is certainly not an answer any of us know. So thank you once again, all of you, and it's back to you, Anmol.
Sure. Thank you, Aditya, for setting the precedent for this discussion. We will now move into a roundtable. The theme of today's discussion is Rising to the Challenge with the Tech Advantage. And I'm joined with a very able panel today. I have Mr. Samir Malhotra, CEO and Director of Shriram Automall India Limited. Mr. Deepak Kashyap, CEO Dial Desk. Interestingly, he's also going to be launching his book today. We'll come to him shortly. We have Mr. Krishnam Raju, CEO of Mark ERP Group, Ms. Akanksha Bhargava, CEO of PM Relocations Private Limited, Mr. Litesh Gumbar, MD, Quadby Group. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, give yourselves a round of applause. I know this is a virtual discussion, but we can still clap for ourselves. Thank you so much for joining in. The format of this discussion is very simple. I have about 5 to 7 questions, and I would love to hear your views on each of these topics. I humbly request all the panelists to keep their answers short and crisp so that we hear from everyone and also helps us to wrap it up on time. With that, let's get started. My first question, as Aditya mentioned, we've got stakeholders from different industries. How has the pandemic affected your business? A quick 90-second take, starting with you, Samir.
Okay, great. So I'll, thank you first, Anmol and Aditya for arranging this and all the panelists here. I think it was a difficult situation and position for everyone in the industry, and we saw that. For us personally, we as an organization, our business was almost in the April was at 10% of the last year, and from that position, any company can be into a dilemma what to be done next, and I think we came very well out of it. Right now, our business is even above the last year October. We crossed the numbers. We were 20% above the last year October. So it's all about the thought process. It's all about how you're facing the situation, and it's all about what new things you are bringing in the industry and for your customers and how they're going to adopt it. So it was a difficult position for everyone. I think it's impacted every single business, including us. And especially in the automobile industry, you have seen the industry is going into a very, very difficult position, and slowly now shaping up, things are changing. We also gone through the same. We brought in a lot of new things, which includes bringing the digital form to our business, which was completely a physical business. We made a hybrid model. So we done a lot of new initiatives, which made the changes for us. So difficult position, but I think if there is a will, there is a way, and that's what exactly we have done. So that's about us.
That's a big smile, Samir. Looks like you're having an extended Diwali, at least in this particular quarter. Good to see that. Deepak? Deepak, if you could unmute yourself, please.
So thanks, Anmol, for this opportunity. And how I look at it is that this pandemic actually has preponed the future for everyone, I believe. So I think one fine day we are seeing all the challenges and all the opportunities to our door, opening up a lot of opportunities and challenges for all of us. So that's how I look into it. And the kind of industry we are into BPO industry, and we were, I think, one of the most badly hit industry at that time because we were actually not ready for that. So there are a lot of things which we were planning it for, say, doing it in the next 3 years, 4 years down the line, not because of the technology availability, it is because of the adaptability at the client side, or it is more about how those norms are acceptable to the market or not, right? So those challenges hit us badly, and although technically we were ready, but obviously arranging resources at that time in that lockdown in a work from home environment was tough for us because you actually can't move anything out of your premises. But I think what I also believe that where there's a will, there's a way out for that. And I think all entrepreneurs are one thing they are common in nature is they're very flexible and they're adaptable to anything, any new challenge. And that's how we reacted, and that's how our client reacted. And I think very fast we were able to implement, I think, which we were planning to implement around 3 to 4 years in times to come. I think that all got implemented, I think, in less than 45 days of time. And I think we all recovered back. Obviously, in terms of revenues and bottom line, they are hit. But in terms of continuity of business, I think we are now back to normal in terms with whatever new tech implementation we have at our different processes.
Sure. I love the use of the phrase, the pandemic has preponed the future. Interesting line of thought. Akanksha, you're in the logistics space. How has the lockdown past 6-7 months affected your business? If you could unmute yourself, please.
So I'll slightly correct you. We are not just into logistics, we're into relocations, household goods shifting,
Yeah.
which also, when you say household goods moving, I think it's pretty much clear that it is one of the most difficult zones when you're in a pandemic situation like this. And when the lockdown happened, to be very honest, we were like on that middle path of an essential service and a non-essential service. And the distinguishing part between the two was very hard, because some people said, you're extremely essential because there was stuff which was on the way and it was on the highway and clients were without their goods. So it became essential. But as per the MHA guidelines, it became non-essential. So for us, we were at just a crossroads of actually not knowing what to do, because when you think of home shifting, that's the last thing one would want to do in a pandemic, right? And we do a lot of international relocation. So flights getting suspended, ports not getting operated, the immigration laws changing in every country. And even until now, a lot of people who were supposed to go to the US are still here. So everything was just out of, we were thrown at a very different situation and a very difficult situation. And we have a lot of blue collar people working for us. So obviously the whole aspect of managing cost and their salaries was on top of my mind, because you can't know that how long this will survive, and we're in November and still the same. So yes, household goods relocation did get affected very badly, because the whole aspect of home shifting and it was a scary zone. But I think when things go wrong and things are not in your hands, you sort of look for opportunities, and that's what we did. We were lucky enough to find a lot of IT work, which was the work from home initiatives that the corporates have taken, and the whole laptop and the desktop movements to homes, and even chair and table movements to home. So we were quite aggressive on jumping on that opportunity and finding that opportunity and going to our corporates and knocking doors and saying, we are not a courier company, we've not done this before, but we have the manpower, we have the we have the zeal to do it. So I think we adapted very quickly to it. And I think wonderful people have said that, where there's a will, there is a way. I think we had to fight it hard, because we were not sure when this will be fine. And in fact, even till today, the public transport is not operational, right? And bringing packers and supervisors and drivers to work is very difficult, because they are dependent on that. Like Mumbai's lifeline is the trains. If they are not working, it's difficult for people to come to work. So mobilizing people was extremely hard, but I think we all rose up to the opportunity, and I think I have a great team that backed us. And we just went out there and did whatever came our way, to be very honest. And now we're working pretty diligently. We have masks, we have all the precautions that we're supposed to take. We are doing packing and moving completely to somebody's home. People are shifting. In fact, unfortunately, a lot of people have moved their stuff to the warehouses because they don't want to pay rent anymore, and they moved to their hometowns and they moved with their parents. So I guess opportunities did come around, but when it happened, it was like a roadblock for a couple of months.
Right. That's a sentiment all of us can connect with, but quite an interesting tale. Thank you for sharing that, Akanksha. We have Krishnam. Krishnam, how have been things for your business?
Hi, and first of all, a good morning to all the panel members who are here. Pleasure to sharing views with you. So I'll make it very crisp. I think we have been lucky enough here in the automation industry to having been experienced such kind of sudden movements in the industry somewhere back in 2017 when GST happened, and a little later when demonetization happened. So what we deal with, especially in pharma and FMCG industry, is to automate businesses, the small and medium businesses. So when pandemic actually came in, I think what we have to keep in mind is the fundamentals of the business don't change as fast as the environment around it, like a case in a pandemic. So we kept our basic drivers in place, and one of our main important drivers was capability building. I think the first 2 months, what we have focused across all three stakeholders, which is the customer, which is the internal employees, and our network of over 3,000 odd distributors who work with us, is how can we make them capable to deal with a digital world in the future? So the first step we actually spent is we had almost like 50 sessions over the first 60 days, where every day 2 hours were spent on redefining the GTM onto the digital world. So I think that was a great opportunity which we took in, because as many of the panel members here shared, there was a panic in the initial phase to understand how to deal with the operational side of the business, the operational profitability of the business. We have been a little more lucky enough because this pandemic actually gave a boost to digitalization in SMEs and MSBs. So once we crossed the capability building stage, we were in a stage where we were ready to again go back into the market in a digital way. And we've improved our communication with the customer through different product portfolio expansions we have did. A simple example is that a small businessman, when he is all of a sudden informed that he is not going to be opening his shop or a business for next 2 to 3 months, how is he going to deal with it? First thing was, can we provide him an option to work from home and continue his business? Because pharma was one of the industries which had the leeway from the government to be working, but we had to provide the safety and security for those people who are working. One is working from home. So we came in out with a new product offering called Home Edition, so that people can work from their home. The second thing was how to protect these stakeholders. A simple example of this was that there were 3 points at which the spread of pandemic was highly probable. A simple example is the cash transactions, exchanging cash over the counter. Second, people standing at counters. There's another grouping which happens at a medical shop, especially when the pandemic kicked in. There was a panic in the initial 1 week where people were throwing into medical shops to take vaccines or and these things were happening. So what we did is we went into a digital queue system to help SMEs deal with this kind of traffic coming in. The second part which we focused is the second stakeholders, which is our network. Okay. So we have an expansive network. Almost every single district in India has a mark presence. So how do we ensure that these people are back to their working in a different way is what we had to focus on. And it took us about, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, where we changed and revitalized our infrastructure on the digital front, whether it is our product implementation, whether it is our support elements which are there, whether it is the upgrade elements which are there. This was completely built on a 2-week platform where all our network ecosystem became digitally capable to handle close to about 3,000 service calls which we receive on our platform in a single day. So that was a second phase which we went across with. The third was the employee safety. Definitely, it was a very paramount importance for us that close to about 800 odd people who work within the team, they are safe. They're not bothered by about the commute or the groupings. So yeah, we had a phase-wise reopening process in place. And I would say it depends business to business, how you want to, how the flexibility exists to reopen the business physically. So we had a phase-wise manner where we were only focusing on the mandatory services coming into the offices, the rest of the people working from home. Then in the second phase, during the first and second week of September, we started having the next level of the CXOs and the HODs coming back to us so that the leadership is connected at least 2 days a week. So the decision-making process is not delayed. Right? The third phase is market expansion. So we had to definitely look at new ways to reach customers, prospective customers, which was very important. So we changed our communication mix. We started expanding our platforms into digital communication platforms, including one of the very notable ones is we just set a Guinness World Record in October, as most of you might have known, for connecting 83,000 concurrent retailers across India about how to deal with COVID. And most of these people are prospective customers or the customers who are already there with us. So that's how we shaped up the initial phase of the pandemic and came back from it.
Sure. Some really interesting initiatives there, Krishnam. Wonderful. Litesh, if you could get your quick take on how the pandemic has affected your business.
Hi, hello everyone. Before lockdown happened in India, so we were already in touch with Chinese vendors. We are into textiles, okay, we are into custom apparel manufacturing. So we were already in touch with Chinese people and we were expecting something like lockdown that's gonna happen in India. So at that moment, we started preparing for what was about to come. We were not expecting that this lockdown would last for say 3 or 4 months, but this is how like we started preparing. And the most important thing that you need in lockdown would be, I think, was the cash that would be needed to, like you can say, manage the operations and all. So the worst thing that I guess we all have seen is that the migrant laborers, that the problem they had to face, and we could see it by ourselves only. Like we have around more than 200 people working in our factory, and the panic that it created was so devastating that, and most of them, they are daily wage laborers. Okay, like they don't have any savings, they don't have anything, and if they don't have any work, they don't have money, that's it. So that was the time when a lot of people from my industry, they supported, and somehow we, like you can say, survived this. And the most important thing that was needed was to support our people who had been working for us for so many time. As soon as the like things started getting normal, I won't say things started getting normal, I would say getting relaxed. We could see that people started opening their production plants. In our case, when we started our production plant, our area got seized as it was declared in a containment zone. But again, then when the restrictions were lifted, then we started with following the proper SOPs, and we followed a model of virtual assembly line. Now, virtual assembly line is something that very few people know about this, and this is being followed already by Chinese people. So in virtual assembly line, what is being done is like we divide the processes into simple steps, and each of the step is being carried out at a different worker's house. So like if I talk about a t-shirt manufacturing, so it involves around 12 processes, and we have around, you can say, 8 to 10 people working on a one single t-shirt. Okay, so what we did was we asked them to not to come to the factory. Okay, instead work from their homes, and we will be providing you the machinery and all the setup at your home only. So there was just only one person who was carrying all the products from one place to another place, and we created a kind of a JIT, like just-in-time JIT unit. So this is how we implemented our manufacturing, and we have changed the processes of manufacturing, keeping in mind how the pandemic is working. If I talk about my industry, or if I talk about the demand and supply, so what's good at our end has been that more than the demand, the supply has been, like you can say, cut into. Like you could see a lot of small manufacturers who have left this work. Okay, and in all the industries, like manufacturers, the small level manufacturers, they have been facing a lot of problems because of the funds only. And I could say a lot of people in my connections only who have shut down their operations and are thinking of something else, or they have got into trading instead of manufacturing. So if I talk about the demand and supply, so I guess people are really happy in this apparel industry, as far as I can tell you. They are having a great season if I talk about the winter season. And yes, as if I talk about our custom apparel segment, yes, we are like you can say catching up with we have already got it into the 80% of the March levels, that like pre-COVID levels. We have already like got that. So I guess I would attribute it to more to the, you can say, the manufacturers who are not into, like you can say, who have left this work. So yes, this is about our industry.
There are a lot of interesting stories we just saw and heard it, especially Litesh and Kansha spoken how the innovation has come up, and how Raju has spoken about how things have changed in the industry for them. And I think I attended a lot of seminars, and I was a speaker in a lot of panels discussion in the past. And one of them was Jugaad. The discussion subject was Jugaad in India. And we all of us spoken about so big about it. And I think exactly the two example is we have seen just now that when people have just spoken, even if the worst of the scenario, how things change for us, how Indians have adopted to the Jugaad. And we use it a very, very cruel way, word Jugaad, but I think it's a right way for Indians. Like we can be adaptable to any situation. And two examples are sitting here in this panel. We have seen how he's shifting his machine from the office to the, and that's not easy. Like shifting a computer or laptop is much easier than shifting a machine, and then the production still happens. So this exactly happens in our industry, automobile. All of us are coming from industries which are difficult ones, and automobile, all of you have seen, is completely collapsed. We were almost at a 0% level in the initial few months of lockdown and as industry. And but yeah, the team spirit is there, the innovation is there in the Indians, and we brought a lot of new technological changes which made mix of us. We were at 10 to 20% of our apparel last year, and then we started creating a new environment around us, which was a mix of digital and physical. We were completely a physical auction company, which we are the largest company in the country. We sell much more than the manufacturer. We have 100 locations. We deal with close to 17 lakhs customers. We have thousands and thousands and thousands, like close to 50,000 people walking in every month to our sites. You can talk about such a huge impact of physical business, and then this collapse. You can't do anything. Everything is closed. Now what to do? And then we bring in the technology in between. We give them the same real experience to all the customers. On the digital front, we keeping the physical format and the digital front, and we saw the changes. We saw the adaptability was a very difficult one. First, the employees need to adapt to the technology. Then the whole world of buyers and sellers, they never been into digital technology. They never seen the kind of customer we used to. They never seen anything called digital. So adopted to the whole industry, teaching them, working on. We had a 100% growth from April onwards. Whatever numbers we were there. And the quarter one definitely was pretty bad. Quarter two, we were almost at more than 100% growth from the quarter one, and quarter three has. So H1 was close to 70-75% finally we reached of the last year. But the major changes, quarter two was almost very near to the quarter two of the last year, and quarter three has really, I think, good for everyone in the industry. We found that everyone is good. Everything is happening fast. Our October numbers were 20% above the last year October. So I think we are very, very positive as an industry. We are very positive to the whatever recovery is happening in the industry and the businesses all across the country. And I think it's going to affect everyone in the whole, because if one business is happening, all business will happen. And it's a good scenario. H2 is definitely going to be far better than the last year H2. That's for every business where people are waiting. The sentiment has changed in the industry, sentiment has changed in the country, and things are going to change for all of us. So I think we are very, very optimistic, and I think things will change for H2 for everyone. Thank you.
That's good to know, Samir. Thank you for sharing your views. Apologies to the panel. So the current went out here. I'm on inverter. I think this is something we've all got used to.
We've taken over your role. Huh?
That's part of online meetings and collaboration. So just a disclaimer as well. So once the current is back, I will need another couple of minutes to reboot the modem. I think that brings us into the interesting discussion which Aditya also brought in, which is work from home, right? So my question, probably starting with Deepak, is do you see a full work from home scenario, or are we going to go back to full work from office once the vaccine opens up, or is it going to be a hybrid?
See, honestly, it would be a hybrid model only, because there are a lot of scenarios where still work from home is not technically possible because of the kind of industry at least we are into it, because of your data protection and data confidentiality things are there, because you can't guarantee somebody sitting at home what he's doing with the data, right? And in some scenario, we need to share data with the person who is working on that data. I think those scenarios, especially in banking and insurance, we talk about, that would still remain. Those challenges still remain unanswered, and we still need to go back to office and work on those scenarios. But then there are a lot of other scenarios, there are a lot of other processes where obviously these things are not there. And initially, there was only it was only issue of acceptance by the user, by the clients, that okay, this is possible or not. I think though that acceptability has now come into the picture. So we are looking for a good hybrid model right now, where except few critical processes, rest all will continue to work from home with more processes in place, with more technology implementation in place, and a lot of control would be in place now in times to come. That's how we look forward to that.
Sure.
So that's also helping us save a lot of cost to in fact everyone now. From employee perspective, from client perspective, from a vendor perspective, everybody is saving a lot of time, and actually the quality of work has now improved with that scenario. So it is definitely an acceptable model, and people will continue with that model. But yes, going 100% to work from home, I don't think it's possible right now. I think it's next 2 to 3 years for us.
Sure, sure. Litesh, you spoke about something very interesting, the virtual assembly line. So you actually, manufacturing kind of move to work from home. Do you think it's sustainable, or you think efficiencies are more if it's in the factory?
See, if I talk about factory, work from home can be a solution, but if let's see, there are a lot of processes. Okay, some of the processes can't be done at a home. Okay, like there are some processes which involves heavy machinery. Now you need to go to the factory. You need a big space for that big machine, and that can't be done at someone's place. So yes, like as Deepak sir said that. There will be a hybrid model. Some of the processes will be done from home, and some of the processes will have to be done at the specified place where these processes have been done earlier as well. So this is how going to happen.
Got it. Got it. Krishnam, you were talking about employee safety. Do you see work from home also giving a boost in productivity?
A very relevant question. I think the context of which I would take specifically from my industry is that I think for me, the customer and the value proposition we're giving to the customer should determine the type of working, the quality of working down the line. Okay. That should reset the whole ecosystem as per the requirement of the customer. And then because the sustainability of business and thriving of business becomes much more easier. So when we actually came back and we took a call to call somewhere in first week of September to come back, not because we were not having an efficient process. We were actually delighted because the output was much better in August, September when we started off. Right, efficiency. I think it is more determined by how your GTM is, how your customers are expecting you to respond. Okay, that determines which segments of your employees can afford to work from home. Which segment or departments within your organization need to have some physical presence to be there. So just to take a small example to summarize this, as of today, 85% of our employees are still working from home. Okay, and almost 90% of my channel, which is actually my ground force, which is there on the ground. Okay, they're working completely digitally. Okay. But this transformation was not a one-day transformation. It was something we have worked consciously over 2 months to add those tools which are necessary to make that efficiency better. And that efficiency, yes, can it be carried in the long term? Definitely it can be carried in the long term. That's where we made investments. We ensured that we invest into those things which can be carried in the long run. And I think as you know, every challenge brings an opportunity. I think COVID has given an opportunity to the CFO side of our brain to think how to make processes more efficient. Okay, I think that is where it will be a mix, at least in the short run. But in the long run, I think there'll be a lot of cost savings, infrastructural cost savings, which will come because of the proper implementation of the tools. That's right.
Sure, sure. So again, it's going to be a mix. Akanksha, coming to you, yours is largely an offline play. But at least the sales, marketing parts, have you moved to a space where it's all done all online?
Very honest, for us, the whole work from home did not seem to work very well because a lot of departments are so interconnected that, and plus the warehouses are open, had to be open because the packing material is in the warehouse. So the crew cannot just directly go to the job and get going. They have to have the material, they have to have the vehicle and so many more things. So for us, obviously the first few months we were working from home, but we went operational from 5th July. In fact, we moved to a bigger office. So, it was very strange for us to do these changes, but we were always planning to do that. But the new office gave us a great vibe and everything. Yes, we did do a roster. We had people who were still at their hometown. So we did not expect them to join immediately. They were working from home. And yes, the whole social media marketing and the marketing department, I guess, is the only department that can work from home. But even sales, for that matter, we have clients who want to do a physical survey. When we move a house, we need to first see what you need to shift. We also do a lot of office shiftings, and we also do a lot of medical equipment movements. So for them, they have to first show you the place so that you can quote accordingly. So the sales team was actually on the ground. So for us, work from home is not something that's going to be very feasible in the long term. yes, it's given us an opportunity to do a lot of meetings because we have a lot of partners globally. We move people to different continents, different parts of the world. And even in India, we have 12 offices. So, we were very interconnected, and I had never had a situation where I never traveled to any of my offices for one entire year. I was always visiting Bombay, Bangalore, like every, few weeks or months, and seeing my people, meeting the team, but that was done digitally. So yes, it gave us a different perspective, but for our industry where, you need a human to move the furniture into a house, the work from home is not a very successful model.
Sure, unless we have robots coming in, we never know.
I hope not. Because you
Sure.
need people on the job, right? In fact, we hired people as well during the later stages of the pandemic. So, but God's been kind. We didn't have to lay off anybody, and the first few months were very difficult. But like I mentioned, we found new avenues to explore and get out there and do more things, and that's what led us to keep going.
Sure.
In fact, I'm in office right now, so.
That's wonderful. I think we are going back to the normal in some kind of a sense. Raise both your hands if you're seeing green shoots in H2. Something that Samir was answering. If you're seeing green shoots in H2, if you're seeing things improving, raise both your hands. Litesh, okay, I think all hands go up. So I think we are living in interesting times. But
and I also feel, just to add here, if your crew and your 90% team is on the ground, like they're into people's homes, they're risking, like literally they are the COVID warriors, because we also deliver a lot of medical equipments to hospitals.
Right.
And we've also delivered at COVID hospitals. So when your crew is out there, you don't want to be behind them. You want to be there leading from the front. So I genuinely believe that, we had to be in the office and we had to be there for them because they needed documents. They needed so many things that was available only from the office.
Sure. Thanks for bringing that up. I think the frontline staff has done a wonderful job across industries, and I think they are the real COVID heroes. Samir, you have a large workforce. Do you see this work from home balance? What is work? What is home? It's all being blurred right now.
I think we are lucky enough. We are a 10 years old company, and we are the largest company and the largest platform in the country now, both in the physical and digital play on the automobile sector. And why we've been successful? Because for us, work and home both are always been hybrid. All the employees have never been employees. They were partners. They're part and parcel of the extended family, and that's the way whole game changed for us. We were lucky enough. People who join us, they never leave. They stay like average employee. Last 10 years, whoever joined is always with us. So we never had this challenge because everybody wanted to bring something back to the company. They were seeing the pain what company is going through, and that's the biggest thing which makes the change for any company to survive, any company to bounce back. I think data is spoken by Deepak, and process spoken by Litesh, and customers and spoken by Raju. And also the Akansha has spoken about God fearing things. So I think what we see, all of them are important. We see there's a leakage of data, possible work from home. We see there are few processes which is not at all possible to do it work from home. There are customers and their employees which are very important. There are some of the things which can be done from work from home. And the customer, they want delivery, they want different processes. There has to be touch and feel in the business. So our business is much difficult and different because we are completely a physical model. Now, I'll take a few more seconds more here.
Yeah.
I'll give an example and I give a story, very quick one. I used to work for the largest auction house in the world. It's called Ritchie Brothers, and I was there, the country manager and the director for that company. And my friends, whenever they were visiting India, I used to travel all across Asia. It was my territory. And whenever they were coming to India from Canada or US or Europe and all, and most of them were coming first time to India. And they used to be sit in the car like this, and they were seeing what is happening and all across country. For them, they've never seen this kind of a world. The only single answer to them was always they're coming for 3 to 4 days. I said, end of the 4 days, you'll be perfectly okay. You'll be going back perfectly healthy. There'll be no issues, no water issues, no food issues, no accident, nothing will happen. And they used to, after 4 days, used to ask me, why, what happened? Like, you were so scared in this country and what was happening around? I said, this country is run by God. Just keep this, remember, this country is run by God. Every business will come back, everything will be back. So I think for us, it's a very, very interesting story as Indians. We have learned how to make a hybrid model. And I think it's all depends upon businesses. For us, without physical, there's no movement, but we bring a lot of processes, a lot of things to on the work from home model also. All our more than 200 people on the call center, which takes care of all the directly to our customers. They are all working from home, most of them. So a lot of things we divided, but touch and feel, especially in the used automobile, nobody can buy a vehicle without touch and feel. It's not about new vehicle, it's about used vehicle. So we can't take away that part. So it's a mixed model. I think that's the way country is moving ahead. We'll see whatever best for India, whatever best for every industry, whatever best for every businesses, they will adopt to that. And it's going to be a hybrid model going forward. Yeah, that's my take.
Sure, sure. I love the fact that you mentioned about God. I think all our faith has increased. We've been in touch with God very often this year, and I hope we will go past this very soon. Deepak, coming to one of the interesting points Samir mentioned, which is also data leakage, security issues. So, are Indian businesses and enterprises equipped to deal with these cyber security challenges? We see a lot of big, customer data being stolen. Where are we placed in terms of this?
So I think we need to not talk about a pre-pandemic era and a post-pandemic era. I think pre-pandemic era, I think we were equipped enough, but I think the sensitivity was not there. Like being apart from a client point of view or from the people who actually do the business. But I think post-pandemic era, I think people are now equally sensitive and they're equipped enough to handle such kind of challenges now, for sure.
Sure. Krishnam, what kind of technology did you adopt to during the lockdown, which helped you in collaboration during this period?
So to sensitize this, we are a core product company. As you can understand, we are an ERP platform which has expanded into payments, then now into logistics. Then we are looking into other elements which can help. Right? When you talk about what are the tools, when you have a core platform as we had, it was easy for us to add extensions or to give value-added products within the core platform to enhance it. Because we are a pure technology company. For example, panel members, one of the respected panel members was talking about data security. Okay, so we deal with about 1 million users on our platform, and we are a leader in pharma industry for almost like 8 to 9 years now, being in this industry for 20 years, right? And whether it is the supply chain of pharmaceuticals, almost 45% of supply chain of pharmaceutical depends upon MarERP, how the inventory is managed, how the expiry is managed, how the compliances are filed, and so on and so forth. Right. The essence here remains, as rightly pointed out, there was always high level of sensitivity to data when it comes to financial data. Okay, always the businesses in India had a sensitivity towards financial data, and that is one of the reasons why adoption of cloud has been much slower in India than compared to other countries. Right. What pandemic has done is it has opened the mind of medium and small businesses, which is where we focus on. Okay, the lower part of the pyramid where the masses are, is that the adoption of subsidiary technologies has increased tremendously high. For example, a guy who was paying a 5 rupees or a 10 rupees with a cash has now started to think about how should I use a UPI to pay. And that is the reason you are seeing the number of digital transactions in UPI are multiplying multiple fold in the last 3 to 4 months. Right. Then, for example, on our platform, when we looked at providing insurance as an option. So we tied up with one of the famous leading banks here in India, and we started providing insurance for their shops and their family members within the platform. The second tool, for example, is access to credit. Okay. So our recent partnership has been with Paytm, where we have gone along with Paytm for our payments. And the idea behind that was we can bring in a lot of products which are there as a synergy on Paytm platform, like loans, NBFC loans or malls, which can help our customers to interact through the same platform to different needs they have. Okay. And the third segment is what we have done is in terms of identifying the tools, we have divided our customer life cycle into 3 different segments. What are his personal needs and what is his personal need? What is his business need? What is his extended network need? And then we started to identify, okay, if a guy is talking about pure business, these are the 5 things on which we should extend our platform into. Okay. And one of them obviously is logistics, which we are planning around, because logistics plays a huge role in the supply chain in terms of transferring goods, right? The second is, what is that this individual and his family need? Okay. What are the tools we can provide there? Okay. With the purchases or let's say day-to-day marketplace purchases, which he does online, how can we make it easy? We started integrating them directly into our platform. Okay. Similarly, when it comes to business, credit was something which was much more physical in Indian industry. If you leave the top 1-2% where it is structured credit, 90% of Indian SME works on unstructured credit. How do we enable unstructured credit to come into the system? So that's where we looped in 8 to 9 NBFCs who were ready to provide this little bit structured credit for us into the platform itself. So that is how we have approached this. We identified what customer goes through at an individual level, at a business level, at a family level. And then we started to work on it.
Sure. So quick follow-up question. So do you see the threat of cybersecurity increasing in a post work from home scenario? Is it something that is going to bother Indian businesses?
I definitely see that happening, not because the threat is new. The threat was always there. The only thing is because the usage of platforms has increased, you will see the frequency of occurrence being much higher. But as a percentage, it may still be the same. It may not vary much.
Got it.
So that is where I see.
Sure. Coming to you, Litesh, people are talking about the new normal. I think we should rephrase it as the digital normal. Right. In fact, there's a joke: who's brought about digital transformation in your organization, and the options are CTO, CEO, and the third one is COVID. Right? And it's COVID which has just fast tracked the digital adoption. So how have you leveraged technology over the last 6 months, to make sure that things go back to the normal?
Okay, so like as someone already mentioned that now people are focusing towards like you can say on processes. They are focusing more on optimizing. So the organizations who were not having the processes at all, like they were just doing randomly, they started working on the processes. Organizations like ours, we started optimizing our processes. And one of the best ways to optimize is like using the technological tools that are already there, but people don't know about them. So we are lucky to have a CTO in our company who is like taking the charge of like looking for all the things. So like as soon as this COVID thing happened, so we started finding the gaps, like which of these gaps can be filled, how these problems can be you can say solved in an efficient way. And since we could see a cash crunch, like we could see a cash crunch coming, so efficiency was needed in each and every process. And technology played a lot of role. And because of this now, this COVID actually gave us a lot of time to self introspect as well, like where we can like even say improve, which are the things where we can improve. And that's why now we are planning to go for O2O model, that is like online to offline model as well, and offline to online model as well. So this is how we are like trying to like you can say basically we are now optimizing our processes. We are in the process of optimizing and I guess it has worked really well for us. Like we were not aware of like all the leakages that were happening. We could see the cash leakage from our processes, but we were, you can say, just lazy enough to work on that aspect. But yes, COVID thing has forced us to work on all these aspects and all these you can say small gaps which were already there in our business.
Got it. Are you still working with the Chinese partners?
No, not now.
That's good.
Actually, there are two reasons. One is like obviously like we support our country as well. But the second important I would say is like that nobody would say is that there are already a lot of logistic issues with the China. So we are not able to like you can say receive or send anything. And this is the current situation. I am talking about the present.
Sure. It's good to know we are going, vocal for local. Akanksha, how have you leveraged technology last 6-7 months to ensure that things are on track?
So whatever was feasible in terms of being able to do, distantly with the customer was executed. Like, for example, we used to do a lot of physical surveys, which I just mentioned. We went on virtual surveys. We tried to map the client's house as much as possible from our laptop and our phones, and that helped also for a certain period. But to be very honest, when we started proposing it post the unlock period, clients were very uncomfortable and they said, we want somebody to come home, because at the end of the day, when you're recording somebody's house, it could also be a security issue, right? And it could also lead a little discomfort to people in terms of somebody literally watching their house over. So in a business like ours, there are only very limited segments that can be digitalized in terms of how you can, put the stuff in the container and you can offload it, but there's still stuff which is done physically, right? Stuff has to be put with manpower. So we are launching an app now which will also enable people to raise requests and do the entire tracking online. However, we still believe that in our kind of business, people still want somebody to call them and inform them that that the truck has broken down, or there is a problem, there's rains and there is some kind of challenges on the road, and hence your shipment will be delayed. Because when you hear somebody telling you the problem, you are slightly more comfortable, because it's not just one item, but it's your entire like house that is with somebody else. And hence for us, there are very few segments that can actually be digitalized in our business.
Sure. Got it. Samir, a follow-up question. Yours is also largely an offline play, but a lot of auto, car makers, made a scenario by single click, something which we wouldn't have imagined would have happened in 2020. Something possible in your space?
Yeah, interesting part. I think as a lot of eras we talk about all the time, will be definitely everybody will remember the COVID era, and it will be remembered for generations. But things have changed, and I think Deepak has rightly said that it's brought up the technological advancements that we were planning for future years. So I think everybody has changed, which we thought will launch in 2021 or 22. We launched in April itself, just with the bangs. There was no other option left with us. So I think we knew that business as usual will not work at all. That's gone for every industry, every person. We need to be thinking out of box. The innovation is the need of every businesses, and that's what everybody who survived have gone for. Physical format is critical in our business, and we brought in the digital solution to the industry, which was physical auctions were happening, so you can watch it live. But we given you the option to bid online on the digital platform. We given you the app, which was allow you to have an experience of physical auction, but bidding can be done digitally. That's what hybrid model we brought in, and that was the major adoption we done in April, and which given us a very good results. So clients were not moving out at all. Business didn't stop for us. We keep on doing the similar way, and now buyers started coming back, and now people are no more worried about the COVID. They much more adventurous, I can say sometimes I can say they become much more understand the business cannot stop, life cannot stop with this now. And that's what exactly happened. People moved on. So we brought in a lot of different changes, especially by launching MySamil Lab, which was the app, which was digital model, which was having a live auctions on the physical platform, but with the option to work on digital bidding. So besides, we had a lot of, we launched our logistic app, which was for all deliveries. We do deliveries close to 20 or 30,000 vehicles every month, which is the largest deliveries in a month happens with us. So all those things we brought in the non-technology, so people they can watch what's happening. We are providing all those solutions. That's helped. So I think new technology is important, and without that nobody would be able to survive. And we need to see what is required for our industry. We can't just bring in what others are doing. We need to see what is my customer needs and accordingly make changes and make it happen. So that's what we've done, and that's for every business. It's not necessary to be completely digital driven company. We need to bring the right solution to our customers, and that's it for us.
Sure. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention, and I think we are all in that same phase.
Absolutely.
So Deepak's going to be launching his book very shortly. I love the title of the book. It's called Junoon, Zarurat, Jugaad. Deepak, firstly, many congratulations. Give a quick brief of what the book is about, and what is your advice to entrepreneurs, business owners who have never been digital and now it's a need, it's not a luxury anymore? What would you say to them?
Right. So Anmol, I launched this book around 2 years back, in fact. So
okay,
it took me almost 2 years to complete it because obviously I'm into my business, and this is something which was going not on the track because of obviously your business and all that. But I think thanks to pandemic, I think I was able to get a lot of time to invest on that and able to bring it now on table. Now, in terms of why this book and what made me write this book is that I'm a first generation entrepreneur. Like no one in my family has ever done business, right? So and there was a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of deep desire in terms of doing business from the day I think I was in my school. I think that time. And then I started my journey in 2003 after working with almost for 5 to 6 years with brands like Honda and Onida. I started my entrepreneur journey in 2003. And it was a fantastic journey. I think from 2003 till 2000, almost 16, we were only growing and growing and growing. And then there was a lot of challenges. Like so, we had a hit in 2006-7 where when the recession came in the market. Then this telecom, in fact, the entry of Jio killed the entire industry, and which was my major revenue was coming from telecom at that time. So we have seen multiple times, I think, situation where it was near to that situation for the business, right? And what we understood and what I realized during the journey that if I could have a right clarity at the time of when I started, I would have saved at least 10 years of my life, and I would have achieved all those things at a much faster rate and in a better way. So in a nutshell, if I should look into it, the entire market right now, there are a lot of the failure rate in startups and new businesses are very high. The second problem, if you see it, that businesses who are even say not dying, they are not going to do the new heights. Like if you look at the entire Indian ecosystem, we have hardly any unicorn. I think apart from Ola and Zomato and all that, we hardly get any unicorn out of it. Why? So I was wondering on what went wrong with the entire ecosystem, despite we have a lot of good talent and across a country. So that made me think on all those parameters, and then I identified, okay, what made sense to me, where I succeeded, and what doesn't make sense to me. So obviously, I penned on my own learnings, and then I met almost 25 successful entrepreneurs across country, like even Mr. Raju's boss, Mr. Thakur Anup Singh. I also interviewed him also into this book, and I would try to validate the entire idea of entrepreneurship, that what works, what didn't work, and what generally where we fail. So we try to sum up all this into this book, and I think the title was very relevant at that time also, and now it's more relevant because my idea was that how to build a future-ready and threat-proof business. And even while creating this title, I was not sure that I was not even aware of it that this will happen in 2020, and we will see almost a need to that vision for almost all businesses, right? So what we realize is that there are a few elements into the entire business cycle, into the entrepreneurship cycle. One is what the three elements which you require to be a successful entrepreneur. So Junoon is the passion. So I met a lot of people who said, okay, I want to do this, I have a deep desire to do that, I'm passionate about it. But when you actually ask them a few questions, right, they surrender to a challenge. So for me, defining Junoon was very important for an entrepreneur point of view, that something, if you can exchange your dreams in lieu of infinite pain. So that infinite is very, very important, because if you are subject to a condition, then it's not a Junoon, it's not a passion, it's your desire, right? So you need to have that Junoon for whatever you do in your business. The second was Jarurat. Jarurat is not your Jarurat, it is basically the Jarurat of your customer whom you are going to sell your product or service. So we need to understand well the need of your customer, because he is the ultimate buyer of your product. And Jugaad, I think, which we have all seen, is Jugaad for me is being resourceful at all the time. There will be no scenario, there will be no condition in any business that where you will have all the resources in a perfect manner and the perfect timing. So you need to manage, you need to look into the next day. So I think for every businessman or any entrepreneur, to survive for the next day is more important than anything else. So Jugaad is basically being resourceful with whatever you have and keep the ball rolling. So that's how I look at into these three elements. The fourth element, which can be a game changer for anybody, is like look into any business. So most of the businesses are the followers. So they have a principal brand into their industry, which they follow, right? So what is the difference between a follower and a leader? So I think understanding your customer or customer experience is the key differentiator between a follower and a leader. So one who can understand this customer experience and is ready to reinvent his business model at a regular time would definitely become a leader in times to come and from a follower. Sure. So that's what the entire thing has been summed up in this book. We have experiences from a lot of successful entrepreneurs, how they have looked into their journey, what mistake they have made, what they have learned, and all summed up for people to read it out and save their time and pick up the right thing for their business.
Sure, this sounds very interesting. Thank you for sharing these insights. Wishing you all the very best. It's definitely it's going to be a very interesting read. A question to everyone is one strategy that's worked for you, which you would want to advise budding entrepreneurs, people who are stuck. Starting with you, Akanksha, one strategy which you can advise to other business owners.
I think communication with the team is extremely critical in good and bad times both, because I personally feel that, you know, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you need to have the balance between the emotional connect and the personal connect and the professional connect, because I think all three are very important. And at in times like these, I think the whole communication and the understanding that we had with each other in terms of where the company was going, what was happening, was like very, very important to all of us. And that, I think, led us to, you know, come out of this kind of situation where nobody panicked. We held hands, we supported each other, and we understood that we are all in here, you know, together. So I think for me, I think the communication bit is extremely critical, and how we do it, what are the ways we, you know, speak to our people, and how much do we understand them. I personally think that that works for me a lot.
Sure.
And this was a big testimony. This period was a big testimony that the whole communication was very important. I did a lot of talking to my crew as well, my packers and supervisors. We did a lot of videos. We did small WhatsApp chats, and just to keep them motivated, because everybody was very, very unclear of what's going to happen, whether we're going to have a job tomorrow, or where is the organization heading. We're an SME, we're a small company, and we are not funded by anybody. We don't have an investor backing us. We're pretty bootstrapped. So that led to a lot of questions in everybody's minds, that what was the future and what was happening. And even the suppliers were calling my team. They wanted their payments, and to manage them, they had to have that kind of strong, deep trust in what we were trying to do together.
Sure.
So I think, your team sings and swims with you.
Right. I think that's a big takeaway. We've all been on an emotional roller coaster ride. So if you're all in this together, then we can ride the wave. Litesh?
Like for all the young entrepreneurs, like who are still in their colleges or who are still like 18 years of old or even 16 as well, I would just suggest them to be eccentric enough, like thoda pagalpan chahiye, and that's it. Because if I think about myself, like what I'm doing right now and how the operations are being carried out at this scale, if I would have like known at that time, the day I was starting, I might not have started, because I would have said कि यार ये तो डरा देगा इतना ज़्यादा, मतलब इतना नहीं हो पाएगा. So I guess initially you need to be eccentric, you need to be a little bit pagal about that. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, you need to be eccentric enough about that. And once you are eccentric, then you will start finding answers over the time. Okay, I will solve this problem, then I will solve this problem. Eventually these problems will, like, you can keep coming on, and then a thing like pandemic will happen, and then we don't know the future is uncertain, and we don't want to scare ourselves by like you can say okay, this is gonna happen. And now, so the best thing is that just start it. Okay, whatsoever the thing you have in your platter, okay, just start with it, and then make a good team. I guess the team is something that really impacts like how your you can say entrepreneurial journey is gonna work. So I'm lucky to have a very good core team, the ones with whom I have studied in my college in engineering, and I'm lucky I'm living with them. And I actually like we plan to like you can say stay together during the lockdown only. So instead of going to our homes, we like stayed together, six of us. We were in a home only, and I guess that's why I'm saying that this gave us a lot of time for self introspection. And
Right.
that's why now we are like you can say venturing out into something that is not been done in India at all. So we are coming up with NFTs, like real life NFTs. So NFTs are like non-fungible tokens. Okay, so the ones who are into blockchain, they might know about that. So we are coming up with the apparels in NFTs. So this is something that no one is doing. So we are coming up with these ideas only because we had you can say a closely bonded team. And I guess these are the two things that I would say that you need to start. Okay, and rest, like you will keep learning over the time.
Right. I love that Pagalpan point. I think COVID is a test for entrepreneurship, right? It's like you're a certified entrepreneur. pandemic कर सकते हो तो obviously you can survive when the going is good. Krishnam?
It's a little difficult question you asked me because it's one strategy you asked me, because strategy can always be dependent on tactics way, but I'll try to narrow it down. I think for any organization or a business per se, if the focus is always on the core customer and the value proposition we are giving, okay, then there is a motive even for the team or the organization or all the stakeholders involved to be connected to that passion. Okay, you cannot, I can appreciate the inputs which have come in, but I think they will also agree. You cannot motivate a team without a core concept which you are taking to a market. It becomes very difficult in a business unless there is a core value proposition which is there. And I think we are lucky enough to be in a generation where things will keep on changing, because that will help us keep learning and adapting to new situations, which is very much necessary. So I think core customer focus and openness to learn is the right strategy which will help us in this digital age. Because one of the members, as Litesh has rightly pointed out, right now our focus is to think about
openness to
the technology side, how blockchain will affect us in 3 to 4 years, because that is going to be the future of transactions. Okay, so we have to be mentally prepared today to visualize what is going to happen 1 to 2 years down the line in terms of transactions. So I think that's it. Keep focus on the customer, give a good value proposition, then rest all things get attached to it. That's the way I look at it.
Sure, keeping the customer at the center. Samir?
Yes, I think I agree with Raju here, Krishnan, that anything we talk about, anything is ultimately for the customer. That's where our everything comes for the company. But I also go to the Litesh and Akansha points also, where to make it happen, we need someone to do it. And if he take it as a job, I think, especially in the COVID area, it would have been a very, very difficult scenario where everybody was so panicked. Why they will come out? Why they will work for you? Why the families were, pressures were there. The pressure was from everyone. They were ready to sacrifice a job. And now you have to keep everybody motivated to even to reach the customer. You need someone to do it. So I think it's important that, and that's exactly we done. Our family, which was all the employees, parcel of the Sabil family, we sit together, we discuss what could be done, what is our customer need, and we need what should be done together. We done a zero layoff. We given increments, especially the incentives and for last year, and the bonuses all were released on time, even up to recently. We kept all the promises which were there. And we keep everyone motivated. A lot of sessions, a lot of things we've done. I think April was the busiest month ever in our 10 years of history. People were working on their own from 18 to 20 hours. They were not sleeping more than 4 to 5 hours. I was surprised. Like, it's no push from my side, nothing. People are so much into the company, and that's all happened because the morale was high. They really want to do something in the scenario where nothing is happening. I think it's all about how you're keeping your employees engaged, how you're keeping everybody together, and then I think your end customer would be happy automatically. So it's all about engaging everyone. It's all about motivating everyone. It's all about bringing everyone together. So that's exactly what we've done, and I think everybody's trying that. Thank you.
Sure. So I think we're ending it on the right. Aditya, Tata Telebusiness Services has been at the forefront of the telecommunication revolution. What are the opportunities ahead, and how can you help SMEs and business owners?
You know, like Akansha said, that initially when all this started, we also being into the telecom services were prescribed as an essential services by the government. But to be fair, prescribing that this particular vertical is a part of essential services and what happens on the field are two very different things. So the company starts keep questioning themselves, are we actually into essential services or we're not into essential services? Because the government regulations are different. For example, today in Delhi is separate, Gurgaon is Haryana, Faridabad is Haryana, Noida is UP. The vendors to move. For example, if you today buy a connection, even at your office, at your home, a broadband connection or anything, you need a guy who has to go there, right? Now the guy earlier for us, for instance, Delhi NCR was one location. Now guy to move from Delhi to Gurgaon, he needs a different pass, So It's not that easy. And as Krishnan initially told, exactly put it, hit the bullseye that and the fundamentals of a business do not change as the surroundings around it. He's right. Overnight you don't change. So first you try to overcome the initial challenges. By the time you realize that things around you have changed, you know, um, the companies itself have gone through such trauma, and then you have to abide by the government regulations separately. So accordingly, in our organization also, our realization is that there's nothing called telecom anymore. It's first of all we are more connectivity. We have to become more of a connectivity organization. That's the objective we are moving towards. Um, the Tata Group itself is quite strongly of the belief that Tata Teleservices has to become one connectivity organization and look specifically for the SMEs. So now we are looking at our company not from a customer and a company point of view. We are looking at customer, our companies connecting to the employees, companies connecting to the extended employees, like Akanksha was giving an example, right? And then employees connecting back to the companies, right? Extended employees connecting back to the companies, right? Then companies connecting to their customers. So all our solutions are going one by one. So for example, if I talk about companies connecting to the employees connecting to the companies, employees are today based out of their home place as their homes. So we got into cyber securities. We've launched our endpoint security. We've launched our web security, email security solutions. When we're talking about companies connecting to the employees, with some of the panelists talk about that, how they talk to their employees today. We first launched a webcasting solution. That's something today everybody's looking forward to, where you don't want a dialogue, you want more of a monologue, right? Where you want it as a leader, you want to talk about it and you want people to hear you out. That's it. Maybe it's the employees, maybe it's the employees' families. And so we've got into the webcasting part of it. We've got into the web conferencing part of it, where you want to have small dialogues, something what you're doing today, like a Zoom. Right. So that's the employee and the organization. And then the employee organization and the customer part of it, we are specifically for segments where people are working from home, wherein we've got into hosted cloud-based solutions. For example, our voice portfolio has totally moved to a hosted voice platform. So today, organizations which were looking at buying services at their premises don't have to do it at all. It's all centralized at our data center, and their employees working out of home can connect out of anywhere. One of the learnings which we particularly had is, maybe it's something which all of us required. It's not anymore a Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad. Employees are based out of any location, and I cannot tell you the kind of, I think Krishnam talked about it, that the use cases of one manufacturing unit of SME is very different from the other. For us as an organization, we were very clear that this is a BPO segment earlier. This is a manufacturing segment, and that's how the products were. But now when I'm talking to one company particularly of a manufacturing, the other company's answer is absolutely different, So there's nothing called manufacturing anymore. So we for us, it's also, as I said, we're also getting to that learning phase, and we're trying to look at what connectivity part. So we got into the cybersecurity, we got into the hosted voice, we got into the webcasting and the web conferencing part of it, so that that connectivity part gets over. And then we are also now further getting into certain solutions which we will be launching in next 3 or 4 months, which are primarily looking at the data security and all these, because that's the topic which is still very hot. It's very easy to move back home, but data security is what's concerning most of the IT heads and the leaders. That's it, and that's it from my end.
Sure. Thank you, Aditya. I'm sure a lot of interesting initiatives coming from your end. One quick question before we wrap this up, starting with you, Krishna. What have you been up to in the lockdown? What's been your stress buster, or what is it something you've been reading of late?
I'm an ardent reader of history. So because I try to get a lot of insights from what people have done in the past, how they've dealt with the situation. So specifically about the Great Spanish Plague. This was one topic which I wanted to read because I wanted to get insights how economists dealt with those situations. Otherwise, my interests lie in technology, mostly into blockchain. And then I'm also a very ardent fan of telecommunications because I spent a decade in telecommunications before I came into software industry. So I always feel, I think I empathize with what Aditya said. I always felt that telecom per se is a wrong name. It's an acronym used. It should always be connecting people. That's the way it should have been. So I keep reading on technology a lot. Okay, that keeps help. Otherwise, I'm into sports actively. So these are the ones I'm going on with. Yeah.
I think I should rephrase. What is it that you've not been doing? Because I love the mix: sports, reading, technology. Akanksha, if you could unmute yourself. Yeah.
I read a lot of corporate stories like the Alibaba story and the Nike story. I think it was important to just keep looking at people's struggles and know that this will soon be over, and you can bounce back. And I think a lot of things just kept you motivated. So I was into a lot of autobiographies and case studies.
Sure. I love that book, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight
Yes,
on the Nike
yes.
story. It's a beautiful book. I think it's very inspiring.
I
think,
just finished it yesterday. So
oh, wonderful.
And
Great.
and I also have a small baby, so I'm a mother of a 2-year-old, and it starts with the fact that his kids always knew that there was a third sibling in the room, and that was Nike. So I think it really resonated with the whole concept that how your business is your first baby, and you just cannot do away with that.
Right. Sure. Litesh?
Like I have a knack of writing songs, especially on entrepreneurship. Like I might be releasing my first track on Spotify on in this January. Like the song is already ready. So I have been writing especially in the first 2 months I have been writing about the lockdown and how it's impacting our business. And since I am a Punjabi guy, so I write mostly in Punjabi. So you don't find meaningful music when it comes to our industry. So I tried to write something that is actually happening, and that's a great stress buster for me.
Sure. ये आपका rap version निकलेगा या normal song
No.
होगा?
No, I am more of a classical singer. So
Okay.
I was trained in Indian classical. So I will sing. I will sing like normal singers do.
Brilliant. We're looking
Yeah.
forward to this. Deepak?
Okay. So I think what I've really understood is, I think the statement called, you must know that what you don't know. So I think that is what has been my driving force for this entire period. And second, I think is that you must know that what competence level is required to do justice with whatever role you are doing. So following these, I have a list of competence level which I need to develop for my own. I have been working on that. Apart from finishing up this book, I think that's where my journey has been all this.
Sure. I think COVID's given you that space to finish that book, revamp it, and it's the right time that we want to hear from it. Aditya, what's been your stress buster?
I have taken up badminton. I think my office hours have now moved up because of that 3 hours of traveling, which I used to do 1.5 hours one side, 1.5 hours one side. I started working at about 8:30 in the morning, finished by about 6:30 sharp. And from 7 to 9, I'm a core badminton player with nobody disturbing me. Surviving the journey.
Brilliant. Samir?
I think I'm a strong believer of the go with the flow. So I never have anything which is can stick me with some things together. So one time at a time, like I like movies. When I want a different mood, and I will go to any kind of movie on the Netflix or Amazon or whichever things are happening around. I'm a good reader I'm habitual of reading Economic Times. I'm good to talk to people. I spend time with the teams, evening chats and all I can do with my friends. And also secretly here, I do sneak out from office or home whenever I want for a long drive and all, I'll do all that. So it's a different stress buster for me at different moment of my moods. I don't have any single thing. So I think I enjoy everything what comes in and I go with the flow.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in. I hope we do an offline version of this event very soon where we get to sit across a table, and I'm sure it's going to be great, interacting with all of you offline. Thank you so much for taking time out. It was indeed a very insightful discussion. I wish you all the very best, and I'm sure the next few months, the next quarter, it's going to be prosperous and a lot of abundance coming your way. Thank you so much. This is Anmol signing off. Thank you on behalf of the talk.